Your daily dose of sports talk is here. Highlights, interviews, and analysis. From the entertainment capital of the world, SportsWrap with Jason Page starts now.
And we welcome you to it, this Friday edition of the show. So much to do over the next 60 minutes, and glad to have you with us to do it. All across America and Canada, on over 260 affiliates. Also available on YouTube if you happen to be watching there. We appreciate it as well. A lot to get to, as I said. Our friend Tino Patino will be here from SiriusXM NASCAR Radio. Their handicapper on the weekends. Also, Tubi, you can watch him there. Preview this weekend's race in Nashville with him, because on Fridays and Mondays, we cover NASCAR here, because it is a sport. Even though a lot of other national shows fail to give it any coverage except when something terrible happens or there's some horrific wreck, we actually cover NASCAR here on the show. So we'll do that coming up a little later on. We'll also be joined by Robert Littal today, the founder of Black Sports Online. Hangs out with us every Friday on the show to talk about the top stories of the day, so looking forward to that. But we start things out as we always do on this Friday edition of the show. It's time for the big story. And a reminder, before we get into the big story, you can read about everything we talk about on this show every day with the Daily Wrap. It's our new newsletter over on Substack. Subscribe today. It's free. We're not charging anything. I'll have special columns that I'll be writing specifically for our Substack newsletter and our Substack audience. You can check out some of my work over on MS Now as well, but they don't get to take every column that I write. I'll be writing some stuff especially for our Sports Wrap audience over on the Daily Wrap. Go and subscribe to our Substack newsletter today. We thank you. The big story today is the San Antonio Spurs. And look, I mean, how can it not be? What a performance last night. A virtuoso performance by Victor Wembanyama and company. 118-91. They beat up on the Thunder. I am perplexed, though. I'm torn watching this Western Conference final. I watched game one from a hotel room in Long Island City, just outside, part of New York City. It's like a suburb, part of New York City. I watched game one from a hotel room, laying on a bed, a little over a week ago. And now I've watched the next 5 games of this series, and they've all been duds. And there's no getting around this. The folks on NBC won't tell you that because they don't want, to make the NBA look bad. But this Western Conference final, for all of the hype going into it, and the fact that you are looking at the 2 best teams in the West, I am at a loss to try and explain why 5 of the 6 games have been horrible. They've been blowouts. They've been no-doubters by the time we got to the fourth quarter. And I can't for the life of me figure out why, when you have the 2 best teams matched up against each other that know each other so well, why the games aren't more competitive. It's been terrible. There have been great performances in each game. A Jared McCain surprising us. Wemby in games 1, 3, and 6, or 1, 4, and 6. SGA's been awful in this series. He's your MVP. He's been terrible in this series. Last night, another example of that. Which goes to show you something. And look, this is not me banging on SGA. It's as much because he is a product of today's NBA, where if you touch somebody, it's a foul. That if SGA played in the 90s NBA, he wouldn't even be an all-star. You heard me right. If Shai Gilgeous-Alexander played in the mid to late 90s NBA, he's not even an all-star. Because those guys weren't just touching you. Those guys were knocking your ass to the ground every night. And in the playoffs, it might have been worse. And SGA's proven that if you make him play with contact constantly, and he's not getting whistles and getting to the free throw line 30 times in a game, what is he? You've seen it in this series. And again, he's a good player. He's a great player. He's a two-time, back-to-back winning MVP in this era of the NBA. But there are guys that can cross eras. He is not one of them. He has been terrible in this series when the officiating has allowed for contact and allowed the game to be played like basketball instead of, a flag football game or a basketball equivalent of a flag football game. So that has been fascinating to watch. And how Game 7 gets officiated, I hate to say it, the most important people on the court in Game 7 may not be Wemby or SGA or Stephon Castle. The most important players on the court, the most important people on the court might be the three officials. And that's not a good thing. Big story number 2, this guy, Patrick Mahomes, back on the field. 3 days in a row, off-season workouts for the Kansas City Chiefs. He's getting his workout on. He's running through drills. He's dropping back. He's running around the field. He's doing all the stuff you're seeing right now. Now, granted, he's wearing a yellow jersey. He's wearing shorts. And no contact or anything like that. But there's a chance, a real chance, he plays week 1 of the NFL season. We'll see how he continues to recover, and he talked about it, in his post-practice press conference that he had with the media about the fact that he's going through these stages of trying to be ready for week 1. But I do have to ask the question, if you're the Chiefs, why are you even risking it? You're telling me that Andy Reid, Eric Bieniemy, they can't figure out a way to get through 2, 3, 4 weeks with Justin Fields as their starting quarterback while you get Patrick Mahomes healthier and more confident in that knee? You're telling me you can't do that? I mean, this is your last gasp of being that dynastic franchise. And you're going to potentially throw that away to have him out there for week 1? Why? To placate an ego, to try and, make history, the quickest to come back as a quarterback from this kind of injury? Adrian Peterson did it in about 9 months' time. They don't need to do that. The Chiefs, you have nothing to prove as a franchise. Do it right. Get them healthy. Coming back, talking more basketball next. All right, you've heard what I had to say in the big story. Fridays on the show, I am blessed to be joined by this guy. He is the one and only Robert Littal, the founder of Black Sports Online, who's kind enough to grace us with his presence on Fridays. Not just to talk about the salacious in sports. No. We give him the whole SportsWrap experience on Fridays. Well, I'll tell you what's been a roller coaster. Segue. This NBA Western Conference Finals, which, other than Game 1, has just featured nothing but blowouts. And it's hard to fathom with two teams that are so closely matched that the only good game we got in this series was Game 1, Robert Littal. But that's what's happened. I mean, the only good series we got in here, the only good game in this series we've gotten so far was Game 1. Last night, the Spurs put the whooping on SGA and company. I thought they'd win the game, so I'm not surprised they won. I am surprised they won by the margin with which they won. Has the number of blownouts in this series surprised you, particularly what we saw last night?
A little bit, only because you saw what happened in Game 1. So, they're closely matched, or they can be closely matched. I don't know if it's I know a lot of people think it's a refereeing issue, is that, the home team, when the Spurs are allowed to be a little more handsy with OKC, they seem to blow them out. When OKC seems to be able to get to the foul line more, they blow them out. Or maybe they're just young teams and it's a lot of pressure being, in these situations. OKC won a title, but they're still a very young team with young players on there, and it's hard to win on the road in the playoffs. And I think sometimes as the series continue to go, the pressure starts to rise, and it doesn't take long for the home team to get that kind of spurt, and especially with their role players, and then it just kind of goes downhill with a snowball effect from there.
It's just insane to see the contrast in these games, basically played on the other team's home courts. Each team has won a game on the other team's home court, and now you're going to be faced with this prospect of San Antonio having to win a game. I wonder if we're going to get a Scott Foster Game 7. Any chance we get any? Oh, yeah.
Always do that. They know that what's going to happen when they put Scott Foster in their game, but for whatever reason, they seem to always do it on the most important one.
Yeah, it could happen. Could happen on Saturday night between those two teams. It has not been a good series for SGA. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has not brought it. And we can talk about the officiating all we want. He's gotten more. It feels like to me, the officials are finally clamping down on the flopping and clamping down on the contact, because it is the playoffs and guys are going to bang and guys are going to get physical. It feels like it's been more of a hands-off approach when it comes to how they've officiated this series when it comes to SGA.
Yeah, I think it may be an anomaly because you're dealing with Wemby, and when you're dealing with Wemby, that's a different type of thing, especially for a player like SGA that doesn't live at the three-point line. He lives in the paint, he lives in the mid-range, and that's where Wemby, lives as well. So, I don't know if it's that. I don't know if it's like you said, the play. I think, almost every player, unless you're like Michael Jordan, unless you're like these elite players, the numbers go a little bit down in the playoffs because, like you said, the defense goes a little higher. The teams that you're playing are a little bit better. But he has to fight through it because that's what, MVPs do. So it's game 7. He's expected to win. He is the MVP, and he's at home. So anything less than, Alex Caruso shouldn't have to save him in game 7. He should go out there and win the game, for his team. So, and this is what they pay you the big bucks for. If you don't want to be called a flopper, if you don't want to be called all these names, if you're sensitive to all that, go out there, score 40, and take your team to the NBA Finals.
And I'll tell you this, the fact of the matter is we're going to see these two teams, it feels like, in this position. When you look at the rest of the West, the age of these two teams, Robert, it feels like we're going to see this a lot over the next 6 or 7 years. I'm not going to go decade because free agency happens. Guys want to get rich. Guys want to get paid. It feels like for the next 6 or 7 years, though, we're going to see a lot of these two teams playing each other in the playoffs.
You hope so. I mean, because rivalries are good. The way the NBA is set up, with these aprons and everything, you wonder how long you can keep all of these good players. How long can you keep a Jared, McClain? How long can you keep a Vassell? These type of, a Champagny. These guys that are not like maybe all-stars, but, they're going to command 20, 25, 30 million, dollars maybe a year. When does that come back? But Oklahoma City has really found a way to, with the draft picks, to be able to, some guys leave, new guys come in, and it's just like that. And I think San Antonio is doing that same model.
The Knicks are waiting for the winner of this series, and they got some good news this morning. Mitchell Robinson will be playing with this broken pinky finger that he apparently suffered in Game 4 against the Cavaliers, where the Knicks swept that series. And the thought to me all along was, unless there was a risk of it getting worse, splint that thing up. It's not like he's a shooter.
Right.
It can't hurt him any worse at the free throw line. He's shooting 35% from the line. He's in there to rebound, block shots, and bang. And you need him, especially if it's Wemby and the Spurs in the finals, to muscle around Wemby. I'm not surprised that Mitchell Robinson's going to play in this series.
I wouldn't be. I'm not surprised either. Also, I would not be surprised if the Knicks won the NBA Finals, and I tell you why. It's just, and this is not a knock. Well, it is kind of a knock, to be honest with you. When you can go through the East and you can win whatever they won, 10 games in a row or something.
11.
And you have in the playoffs, you have all these days off where a guy can have surgery and then be able to come back and still play. As long as you're close, to the team that you're playing, they have a really good shot. I thought the Pacers looked like they were getting ready to win Game 7 until Halliburton, blew out his calf muscle, his Achilles there. Just because I felt like OKC was exhausted, and I wonder after this series, how with the somewhat quick turnaround, even though the Spurs and the Thunder are young teams, if the Knicks can jump on them quickly, because they're so fresh. And the Thunder and the Spurs are coming off such an emotional kind of series.
Well, I've said it before. I will say it again. I think the Knicks beat the Spurs. I think they lose to the Thunder in a close series. I think it's closer now than it was maybe a week ago for me. But I think the Knicks beat the Spurs. I think they lose to the Thunder. But then again, the Jalen Williams injury also looms large now over the rest of this postseason, however long that may be, for the Oklahoma City Thunder. All right, we got more to do. We've got more to talk about with Wemby and SGA. Couple of interesting stories involving the two that I want to get to. Robert Littal hangs out with us on this Friday edition of SportsWrap. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to our Las Vegas studios. SportsWrap with Jason Page on this Friday. Later in the show, Tino Patino will be here, SiriusXM NASCAR radio handicapper and to-be presenter. Talk about this week's race in Nashville as NASCAR heads to the Grand Ole Opry. Dollywood. Is Dollywood still open? I'm not sure if Dollywood's still open these days. I have to check on that. Robert Littal hangs out with us on Fridays on the show. Wemby and SGA have been a story on the court in these NBA Western Conference Finals. I found it fascinating and curious that Wemby just decided to skip out on the media after Game 5, where he was basically, he was a no-show in the game. He might as well have been a no-show in the post-game press conference. But it was kind of curious to me that we didn't see him in that post-game presser. And then last night, when the game ends, I don't know if it was Zora or which of the two post-game sideline reporters for NBC went to go get him after the game. He gave two really short answers and ran for the locker room, which was strange. And he did show up for his post-game obligations. But I wonder what's going on with Wemby here. If some of this, we're talking about 100 games into the season, plus the preseason. I wonder if for the first time, I don't want to say it's immaturity, if just the gravity of everything that comes with being literally and figuratively the biggest star in the game right now is sort of getting to him, Robert.
I don't know if it's that. He seems, just from and I haven't had the chance to, actually, talk to him or cover him or anything like that. He seems like one of them. And when I say one of them, I mean Kobe, I mean Jordan, intensity-wise, Russell Westbrook. He really seems like he is living and dying with every single, game here. I mean, he's sending out the goons at the end of the game.
That was crazy.
I mean, he really seems locked in. To where he, job's not finished, job's not done, mama mentality. And I don't know if I have a problem with it. I know, the media, we want our answers and everything. I think he should never skip. No skip. But I think, answering the two questions and running off. I mean, he said thank you. And he just didn't give her another chance.
Well, that just makes it
ask
better.
The question. I think somebody will have to talk to him. You don't want him to go as far as like Anthony Edwards, where he's just talking just crazy and just saying whatever's on his mind and cursing all the time. But you got to find some sort of middle ground when you are being propped up as someone that is going to be a face of the league. They need that. You have to sit there and you have to give them that time. And you just work on that.
That thing with Bismack Biyombo and Mason Plumlee, where he all but looked at them and was like, "Hey, that guy." Like that was the only thing missing that from that whole thing, and those guys went out and delivered some shots for him. It was
that lets you know that he's they listen to him. He's a leader.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. But at the same time, I've also seen scenes in this series where he's on the bench and he'll sit there and Harrison Barnes will be in his ear. And Harrison Barnes, who's a veteran, a championship guy, one of the few real, is sitting there getting in his ear, sort of feeding him information. So he's not so, recalcitrant or anything like that, where he's gonna take the advice that he gets from some of the senior guys that are around him. What the hell is going on with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Underdog? Can you explain this to me and explain this to the audience? Because I didn't know about this until you brought it up, and then I went and looked it up last night, and I said, I didn't even know about this.
Yeah, I mean, so, SGA it has a reputation, as a flopper, a fish flopper. I mean, it's out there. I mean, you can't get away from it on social media. No. Underdog, fantasy, one of those prediction market gaming apps, who sponsors a lot of the YouTube shows and everything. They made fun of them. They made an operation game where if you touch them, the whistle blows. They've used some AI, to make fun of him, and it's him. It's not like they're acting like it's somebody else.
Oh, I love it.
And his lawyers sent them a cease and desist to say, stop saying my guy's a flopper. Stop using his image in AI and promoting your app and everything like that. And I thought he made a terrible decision in even acknowledging it, because a company like that, to me, is like it's a Skip Bayless situation. All they're trying to do is they get a reaction out of you.
Yep.
The reaction of the cease and desist made them maybe $1 million. Like you said, you had no idea about it until I told you about it, right? Exactly. So think about all the other people that's like, what is Underdog? Who is Underdog? What is Underdog? And they go, oh, it's an app. Well, let me see what the app is. No telling how many signups they got out of this. I think when you're at a certain level, you're going to get made fun of. You're going to get critiqued. When you're at the highest, if they don't do it, like Colin Cowherd told me this a long time ago, indifference is death in our industry. You don't want people to be indifferent about you. So they feel strongly about SGA. But you one game from the NBA Finals. This is stupid. Ignore that. Know what you do? Win another final. Win another Finals MVP. Then what are they going to say? You know what happened to Kevin Durant? This is a Kevin Durant situation. Kevin Durant went to Golden State and thought winning the championship would quiet all of the criticisms about him, all the people that made fun of him, all of this stuff. And he went there, they won. That summer, they called him a cupcake.
Yep.
They all of this stuff. And he never got over it. He didn't understand it. You got to understand, no matter who you are, if you're at a certain level, people are going to critique and take shots at you. And you got to just, keep it moving.
You know who's been the biggest winner, by the way, of this season in the NBA with the new media contract and everything? Watching everything, because I've watched Prime, I've watched NBA on ESPN, NBC. NBC's been the big winner of the media war this year.
Okay, all right.
I will take them as the winner. One, they get a 7-game series in the conference finals. Tarico's been fantastic throughout this entire postseason. To me, NBC feels like the big winner in year one of this new media deal. Am I wrong?
No, I think, it's two for NBC. The difference between NBC and, say, Prime, right, is everybody still has NBC. You don't have to have Peacock.
Correct.
You know what I mean? Like, I know they had a few games that were Peacock exclusive.
Yeah.
But once it got to the important games, you can flip it on, NBC and watch it like you were watching, the Bulls and the Knicks back in '92. You know what I mean? And that's a nostalgic feel to it. And I think they nailed it with the announced team.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not bang. They're not banging it.
No.
But, it works to the point that you don't feel like, you don't feel like the announcers are like, man, why am I listening to these guys?
Yeah, I feel like Jamal Crawford's still trying to figure out how he fits into that broadcast team with Reggie and Tarico. All right, we've got more to do. Stephen A. Smith's latest feud. Wait until you hear this one next. Welcome back. Coming up in 10 minutes, Tino Patino, SiriusXM NASCAR Radio handicapping insider on this week's race in Nashville. Stephen A. Smith is back in the news. Just the way he likes it. So there was this roast. I've only seen highlights of the Kevin Hart roast, where apparently this joke was made, and I've obviously since seen the joke. of Kevin Hart talking about Stephen A. Smith, basically saying he's racist towards black people. Stephen A. Smith never one to back down whenever anybody has anything to say about him. Apparently he can't take a joke either. This was Stephen A. Smith on Sirius XM radio this week. Watch for yourself.
I promise you on and I love in this world, you will never see anything on a debate stage with what you would see that night, that I'm a candidate and I'm up on that stage against those politicians who do sleazy like this, fomenting and provoking this kind of stuff to come my way. You have no idea who you're dealing with. I'm not going to get weaker. I'm not going to fold. I'm not going to bend. All I will do is intensify. You have no idea how much you have motivated me. You have no idea what I've spent the last year working on just to get myself ready for y'all. You have no idea. Because of BS like this, any other community, somebody has a point of view, they feel a little differently, you go on with your life. Black person speak up, your own people hate you, you're a sellout, you're a coon. You've betrayed your race because I'm asking questions on behalf of a community that I love and care about and am a fabric of and a part of. Because I'm daring the challenge. What you say you've been offering to us. Forget the other side, we know. I'm talking about you.
That was like I mean, seriously, the only thing missing was him ripping off, God knows we don't want to see that, ripping off his shirt.
And I've said this before, and he's not, in one part, he's not wrong about one part. There are times where the community will turn on you for having, just a differing, opinion. And that is kind of sad. We don't stick together maybe as much as we should. But
the gay community's the same way, by the way. So, yeah, please, we don't stick by each other. He's being a little obtuse because, like you said, when you go on Tucker Carlson, when you say positive things about Trump, when you say Candace
negative
Owens.
things, about, it's a little more than just a differing opinion, and I've tried to explain this to people a lot lately, is that this is not a Democrat and a Republican situation here in these last 6-7 years. This is, are you with Trump and MAGA or you're not, and because that's really the crux of all of this. And he's shown more often than not that he's willing to engage with a lot of the things that Trump is doing, and that's just not going to fly. But the WWE, here's the thing that concerns me. He has a lot of money and he has a lot of fame, but he's 58 years old and he's doing this kind of on a daily basis. I hope he's happy. You know what I'm saying? Like I hope, internally, maybe he is. Maybe it's all an act. He turns off the camera and he goes and he got a bunch of people over there watching the game, having beers, and everything's cool. Maybe it truly is WWE. But if this stuff is actually affecting him personally,
eating at him, yeah.
There's no amount of money in the world that a 58-year-old man that has achieved the success that he has should be miserable because all of these little things are kind of, happening to him. So, I run into him from time to time. I say, hello. I'm not trying, some people are out there why don't you say call the scenes or something like that. I'm not calling this a public, event and things like that. But I mean, if I had a chance to really talk to him one-on-one, I would ask him, hey man, are you okay? Are you happy? You're not married, and your kids are grown. I mean, you got all the money in the world, you do whatever you want to do. I mean, you flying on the private jets and everything, but are you in here? Are you okay? Because I'm not sure if he is.
Here's the thing. Now he's too deep into the role. He can't get out. because this is
No,
it.
he can get out.
No, how could he? This is what he's built his whole empire around now.
No, he can get out of the politics side. He made his money. The reason ESPN paid him is not because they think he can debate Bill Maher or Gavin Newsom. Because he makes hot takes on first take and gets good ratings. He's a sports reporter. He's a sports hot taker. That's where the money comes from. Now, the extra money, whatever he's doing on the side, he can stop doing politics tomorrow. And ESPN be like, okay, you can stay with us. He's the face of ESPN. And he can just talk about Wemby and talk about, well, even the LeBron stuff's a little too much. But he doesn't have to do this. I'm not exactly sure why.
I think he's empty.
He's empty. And so he's trying to find something that fulfills him.
As thin-skinned as he is, if he as apparently thin-skinned as he is, like you said, it could be an act. If he backed out of the politics stuff now, he'd get crushed. And if he's as thin-skinned as he appears to be, that would make it worse if he backed off of that.
I think people would be like, thank you. Like who? Listen, it's only, I think, he's overexposed. He's oversaturated. He's going for every dollar that's available to him, every appearance, every podcast. He's doing everything, but he doesn't have to.
Robert Littal's hanging out with us. He'll be back for Odds and Ends. Tino Patino talks NASCAR next. Welcome back to the show. Good to be with you on this Friday. Odds and Ends wraps it up 10 minutes from now. But if it's a Friday on SportsWrap, that can only mean one thing, ladies and gentlemen. This guy is here. Here to bring the energy. Tino Patino, because it's a NASCAR Friday. Here to hang out with us as NASCAR heads to the Grand Ole Opry, Nashville. It's supposed to be an amazing city. I haven't been there. Have you been to Nashville, Tino?
I have not. Not yet.
Me neither. Here, it's an amazing city these days, though. A lot of people moving to Nashville, Tennessee. I don't know if we're on there. I have to look at the affiliate list. We might be. So, Tino Patino, before we get into the juicy stuff, which is the racing and Daniel Suarez win last week, the emotions of all of that, you've had a week now to sort of marinate in this passing of Kyle Busch and all the news that has come with it in terms of how it all happened. We had a doctor on the show Monday, an ER doc, to kind of explain and walk us through it. What's been the reaction and sort of decompressing, if you will, of the NASCAR world and acquaintances and people you know around NASCAR here over the last week?
The uplifting part about something so painful and powerful like this is the fact that it is connecting and uniting the NASCAR community with other communities out there of people that don't really know NASCAR and didn't really necessarily know Kyle Busch the way we have or talked about him on the show before or seen him in person. And that's what's really cool about it, because I saw one person on the community on Twitter mentioning something about how they always wear their NASCAR hat. But recently now when they go to work, people are asking about Kyle Busch and talking about, and he can share some of the stories there. And similar for me, for people in my life that don't know NASCAR, they still knew of Kyle Busch. And I think that's something that's really cool about seeing the uplifting nature of this. There's nothing cool about what happened, obviously. It's so sad, and it breaks my heart every time thinking about it. But the way that people respond and show their respects and uplift one another in a time of need. You said it last week, I wish we could have seen more of that while he was still here. But unfortunately, it is what it is now. And I think to bring up some sort of positive, it's just the facts that, to have the people come together and uplift one another is something that is special to see.
Last week was a rain-shortened Coca-Cola 600. Daniel Suarez picks up the win. I'm sure nobody had that on their bingo cards for this season, huh?
No, and I'll give Daniel Suarez credit because this season he was running well, up inside the top 16 in points, or at least around there. It looked like he will and would have battled, even if he didn't get the win, would battle for a final spot into the NASCAR chase for the championship. And honestly, it took a gamble for them, 2 tires when everyone else took 4 late in the going. I was kind of surprised more people didn't do that with the rain, in the forecast. And
almost everybody was taking 2. Almost everybody was taking 2 tires. Yeah.
Yeah, and I will say this, not only, did he win the race because of that, but he did earn it in the sense of they had a restart and he held off Denny Hamlin, Christopher Bell, Tyler Reddick in the late stages of that race. Would have loved to see it gone green just for the fact of great racing. We saw some really good stuff. I mean, the Toyotas, like we talked about last week, they were the class of the field. That was something that they have been all season. Chevys are still catching up, but to see them battling it out, like positions 1 through 6, Larson was up there, SVG was up there. Just overall, a really great race. A shame that rain ended it, but I am happy for Daniel Suarez because not only has been running well this season, but he earned it in the late stages there.
Ryan Blaney won this race last year in Nashville, Tino, and Carson Hocevar, who picked up his first win of the season earlier this year, finished second in that race. For that reason, does logic dictate with even a faster car this year, you would like Carson Hocevar this week in Nashville?
It definitely does. This is a very unique racetrack. 1.3 miles. It's called a super speedway, but it's not like your typical Daytona or Talladega. It is not a super speedway style of track. That's just the name of the track. So it's a 1.3 mile track, concrete as well. And that's a factor that we don't see that often this season. We saw it at Bristol, saw it at Dover, but you can't really pull those comparisons. It's just a track type, right? So when we look at Ryan Blaney, we'll start there. He's not even the favorite. Denny Hamlin's the favorite. Tyler Reddick, Christopher Bell above Blaney, who's plus 750 right now.
Yeah.
I love that for Blaney, and here's why. If you want to find some tracks that are comparable to that of Nashville, I'll give you Iowa, New Hampshire, Gateway, Phoenix. Blaney has won on 3 of those, and then for Gateway, the one he didn't, he ran out of fuel on the last lap while leading. To me, this looks like a Ryan Blaney type of race. He also won here last year, like you just said. For Hocevar, 20-1 to get the win, and I actually like that. I can see them gambling at the end.
Yeah.
I can see them doing some sort of strategy, and I think he can have the ability to hold them off, anyone that may be behind him because of how well he raced here last year when he was A, less mature, and B, like you said, had less speed. So those are 2 drivers definitely to keep an eye on, and value-wise, they're pretty well this week, too.
Yeah, Hocevar at 20-1 is amazing value. Denny Hamlin at plus 380, Tyler Reddick at 7-1, Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell, Ryan Blaney at plus 750, and then Chase Briscoe at 12-1. In the last 30 seconds here, anybody further down the trough that you could see being a surprise?
I wouldn't go past Hocevar at 20-1, but a couple of guys I would say would be Logano.
I was going to say Logano,
Briscoe 12,
Bubba Wallace.
Yeah, Logano. This is a type of Bubba as well. I can see Bubba top 10, Blaney top 5 as well. I wanted to throw that out there because it's still plus money right now, similar to a Hocevar top 10. I'd keep a look on those guys. If I had to choose anyone else for a win, it would be Christopher Bell. But those 3 to 4 guys out there, I think it's going to be a battle between them for the win this weekend.
Tino Patino, SiriusXM NASCAR Radio. Catch him there this weekend. Also on Tubi. Always appreciate you, my friend. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the racing.
Thank you.
Just about time to put the wraps on this baby for a Friday. Another week in the books. A few reminders before we go. Got to get through all of this. SportsWrap Weekends. The weekend edition of this show. 30 minutes. Available on many of these same affiliates. If not, check your local listing for time and schedule. Because sometimes we're on a sister station or a different station within your market. SportsWrap Weekends, 30 minutes, all the best of what we've talked about throughout the week here on the show. You might even see Robert Littal there. SportsWrap with Jason Page. We have a new Substack called The Daily Wrap. It's our newsletter. Go over to Substack. Matter of fact, just click the QR code that's on the screen right now. Check out The Daily Wrap. It is everything we talk about on the show in a newsletter. It's available Monday through Friday. on Substack. Go and subscribe. Click the QR code. I'll give you another second to do so. There you go. Click it. There you go. Now you're on to our Substack. Go and check that out. Subscribe today. We appreciate it, and it's free. We're not charging for it as well. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page podcast, the audio version of this show, Monday through Friday, available wherever you get your podcasts. It is 45 minutes, largely commercial free, just a couple of quick little breaks in there. 45-minute podcast from this show, Monday through Friday. We also have extensions of that are available. Sometimes conversations go longer than our TV show can hold, and we put those podcasts up as well. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page podcast available wherever you get your podcasts. Last but not least, the Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel, the place to find all things Sports Wrap with Jason Page. The Monday through Friday TV version of the show. The podcast is there. We've got extended conversations that are there. And Sports Wrap Shorts. These are 1 to 3 minute long videos. When news breaks, we jump in on our Substack, on our YouTube channel with Sports Wrap Shorts. I have so many things, I'm getting them all confused. Sports Wrap Shorts available on our YouTube channel. Also available on our TikTok, Sports Wrap Jason Page, and on our Instagram by that same name, Sports Wrap Jason Page. Whew, I need a breather. I need an intermission. Without any further delay on this Friday edition of the show, it's time for some odds and ends. Odds and ends, Robert Littal. The tragic story. I mean, this is just crazy. A few days ago, Claude Lemieux's out on the ice, representing the Montreal Canadiens, carrying a torch out onto the ice as they prepare for a playoff game. And then we find out yesterday he took his own life. He's 61. It was 61, I think, 61 years old. Like, sometimes I had this conversation with Dr. Ben Wedrow earlier in the week, who's a recently retired ER doctor. We were talking about the Kyle Busch stuff. And he said, sometimes people die young. Sometimes people, we were talking about the Kyle Busch thing, and he's like, go look at the obituaries. People die every day in their 40s and their 50s. And we're making a big deal out of it because it's Kyle Busch. But, this happens every day, and we don't know why. And we're trying to make sense of something that is senseless. And in the case of this Claude Lemieux story, we find out he took his own life at the age of 61, and everybody's going to sit here and ask why.
That's really, I think, for any case like that, that's the part I think that probably terrifies, the family or terrorizes them. For a very long time, is that why would you do that? I think he said he had 4 kids. So he's married. So he leave his family behind, and his devastation is like, what was it? And then for the friends and other loved ones, it's always like, what more could I have done? I've had, unfortunately, 2 people that I really cared for had taken their own lives, and almost immediately my first thing is like, I should have did more. I should have reached out more. I should have called more. I should have checked in more. Maybe that was something I could have done. But there is nothing that really you can do. You can only do the best that you can, and you just never know what someone is going through. That's why, especially as I've gotten older and has more life experience, I try to tell people, and I know it's very hard in 2026, is that you should be kind, to people, because you just don't know what's happening with anybody behind the scenes. And I think we're all going through something, and everybody has social media, so everybody puts on a nice fresh face in the morning to tweet or Instagram or TikTok or dance or whatever. But that's just, the best maybe versions of ourselves, or the worst versions of ourselves. The real versions, the ones that our family, friends, the people around us know that, it's not easy. Life is hard. So being, just checking in on people and being understanding to them is underrated, and it's something that people should do.
I've been very open and honest about my own struggles with mental health. I went into therapy a few years back. It did wonders for me. It can do wonders for you. If you know somebody that is obviously struggling There was the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, 1-800-273-8255. That's 1-800-273-TALK. Just to correct myself, by the way, he was 60 years old. He would have been 61 in July. He was also a player agent. He was representing Frederick Anderson, who was the goalie for the Hurricanes at one point. I mean, just a crazy story. Our thoughts and prayers go out to his family and all in the NHL community who are grieving as a result of his loss. That is going to do it for us on this Friday edition of the show. Robert Littal, thank you to you as always. Also, thank you to Tino Patino for dropping by the show. I am Jason Page. Enjoy your weekend. Don't forget SportsWrap weekends on many of these same affiliates. Make sure to go and check that out. Otherwise, we'll see you back here on Monday for an all-new edition of SportsWrap with a Game 7 recap, an NBA Finals preview, and a whole bunch more. Bye-bye.
Call your grandmother.